is Clive Jefferson reporting for the British National Party media. I'm apologising for the background noise. I'm on an aeroplane now heading to actually Bucharest with MEP Nick Griffin and also with our head of publicity Charlie Wise. Nick, what are we up to today? What's our mission?
Well, Clive, we're off to Bucharest because from there, late tonight, overnight, we're getting a flight to Beirut. From there, we're being picked up and driven overland to Damascus, to Syria, in the last-ditch attempt by anyone to try to stop Cameron, Haig, and the other neocon war criminals starting a war that's got nothing to do with Britain.
And let's face it, Nick. I mean, this is no casual event. It's no normal political circumstance. This is dangerous, isn't it?
Of course it's dangerous. Yes, the French president has already dropped very heavy hints that they're going to start the bombing this week, and it could be while we're there. There's no two ways about it. It's a serious possibility. The last time I was in Damascus, there was a double suicide bombing by some of Cameron's Islamist cannibal allies. Now, on top of that, there could be a rain of £1 million a shot cruise missiles. So, yep, it's very dangerous.
So, and we take that threat very seriously. We're actually entering a war zone, a potential seriously escalating war zone. So why are we going, Nick?
Well, yes, it is a war zone, and potentially, as you say, a big one. We're going because someone has to stand up for peace and common sense. Someone has to draw the line. Someone has to do something really quite radical to highlight the criminal folly of Cameron and Haig's plotting, which is what they're doing, to use yet another WMD dodgy dossier hoax as a threadbare excuse to drag Britain into another disastrous multi-billion-pound war that's got nothing to do with us.
Yes, I absolutely agree. And we've had a conference today, me, you and Charlie. We've diverted our full week's work because this is serious enough for us to put our lives on the line. Because what's it about? It's about nothing to do with Britain. It's just another Afghanistan in the making, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly so. Because they're saying clean surgical strikes with cruise missiles. Well, that's a lie for a start. You know, those things kill indiscriminately. They'll kill civilians. That's the slippery slope. If the Assad government is toppled, which is their aim, then the Islamist rebels will take over. They will then get all the weapons that are in Syria, and then British troops will then have to go in to Syria, boots on the ground, our boys and girls, in order to try and clean up the mess that Cameron and Haig have created. You know, as you know, we've got members in Afghanistan. I've got friends in Afghanistan, and I've got friends with sons and daughters serving in Afghanistan. That's dangerous for them too. And our troops are going to be in a lot more danger if the pipsqueak Field Marshal Haig and Cameron launch us on the slippery slope to what is not just a small squabble in Syria. It will certainly escalate if they do this into a Middle Eastern-wide conflict. It will end up with an Islamist, jihadist, cannibal state on the doorstep of Europe. It will, potentially, it's the slippery slope, quite literally, to World War III. So yes, we're going into danger, but everybody's in danger if Haig and Cameron get away with it. And there's so much opposition to this plan in Britain that if we can only help it coalesce, we can only get the media attention for the fact that someone is saying, for God's sake, stop, no more wars, and I honestly think we can make these people stop.
So basically what we're saying, Nick, is we're under no illusions here. We're going for you primarily to be a focal point for common sense, the focal point for the common sense brigade, if you like, the British people and the people in the media who are arguing against this insanity, to get behind, to publicise it, and to be the public face of peace, really.
Yeah, absolutely so. My first trip to Damascus, it was very clear, before I was going there, the entire British media, particularly the BBC, was saying, you know, Damascus is riven by civil war, it's a hellhole, all the rest of it. When I went there and was sending back to my Twitter feed and so on, saying it's normal here. In fact, in this city, people support the Assad government in huge numbers, Shia Christians and Sunni alike, moderate Sunni alike. When I was saying that for 2 or 3 days, the journalists were saying it wasn't true, and yet as I came back with the footage showing it was true, the BBC did a 180-degree U-turn and actually told the public the truth. And that stopped the drive for war a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
It stopped it dead in its tracks. And I honestly believe there's a chance of doing the same thing again now. If it works, it's fantastic. If it doesn't, well, at least we've tried. And the blood of all those innocents, including British people in due course, both our soldiers overseas and, at some stage, civilians in Britain killed with a weapon.
Yeah.
No, not terrorist reprisals. People will be killed with the weapons that will fall into the hand of jihadi extremists if the Assad regime government is toppled.
Yeah.
That is what we're looking at. So if there's blood on innocent hands, it'll be on Haig's hands, on Cameron's hands, and not on ours.
Thanks, Nick, and I'm going to try and keep up this dialogue throughout our trip, and best of luck to us.
I hope so.
Clive Jefferson on the second leg of our journey with Nick Griffin MEP to Syria, a country of millions of people about to be literally flattened by British and American cruise missiles. Nick, we're actually now on a plane to Beirut. Just a little interesting story. It was quite an emotional interaction with some of the staff of when we booked into this flight. Very touched that we were taking ourselves into danger, very engaged in the conflict and the media. We were surprised at that.
I was certainly surprised to find people here understanding just as well as people in Britain do that it's not a war, proposed war which is just, which is sensible, and certainly the emotion from an older lady and a younger woman that will, thank God someone is trying to talk instead of rush the war, was really something quite striking.
And very simple logic, it's not going to do any good launching a load of cruise missiles at these people. Well, whatever happens, I mean, their view, totally non-partisan in any way, non-political, was it can't possibly be made any better by bombing another country.
But common sense of normal people.
Yeah. But looking at the media last time, I mean, I didn't accompany you last time, Nick, and as like you say, it is a privilege to come and work with you on this one. But
you say that with the cruise missiles are falling on the head.
Well,
then that's grand, Clive. Wait till then.
I'll hopefully say that if we can do our bit to avoid that, Nick.
Yeah.
But let's get back to the real issue, and the media's going to say that you're propping up the Assad regime. They did last time. They're going to say that you're a supporter of that regime. Whose side are we really on, Nick?
Well, I'm going there because my key interest in this proposed war is stopping it from the British point of view. Because Britain bankrupt, £1 trillion in debt, and £1 million per cruise missile is not only something unjust because civilians will be killed by those cruise missiles, it's also something Britain can't afford. Every cruise missile that goes over isn't just going to damage things like hospitals in Syria, it's going to help close down hospitals in Britain. We can't afford that war. We also shouldn't have that war because if we get involved and help the Islamist cannibal rebels to overthrow the Assad government, then British troops will have to be sent in to take the weapons of the Assad government off the Islamist rebels before they use things like poison gas on the streets of London. So in every way, shape and form, this is about Britain. I'm not on Assad's side, I'm not on anybody's side except the British side.
Well, I think it's important to state that right from the outset, and I can totally back up that that's our full mindset of going here. And just on that, Nick, on that subject, are we on a slippery slope of World War III? I mean, is this incident potentially that serious?
Yes, it is. And obviously, Haig and Cameron are saying a quick in and out bits of cruise missiles, and that's it, we'll walk away from it. It's not like that at all. Look what happened in Iraq, look what happened in Libya, where they put Islamist crazes in power, and of course Iran, Russia and China are saying no. Hague and Cameron are saying we can ignore the United Convention Security Council, we can do whatever we want, we can interfere. It's frighteningly reminiscent. I studied history at university before law. It's frighteningly reminiscent of the run-up, not to World War II, but to World War I. And, we're 2013 now. Next year is the 100th anniversary of the beginning of the war which they sold to people under the lie, the war to end wars. It is a lie, it's a propaganda lie, just as much as weapons of mass destruction. Propaganda lie to get people to fight to send their sons or to pay their taxes. And it's the same old lie, and it's absolutely monstrous. And I think it's also sort of noticeable. You get the same things again. You've got middle-aged politicians, whether it's Hague, Bush, Blair, Cameron, it's always the same story from 1914, right through to now. Middle-aged politicians sending young men into war zones to kill and be killed. I'm not like them, which is why we're going into a war zone. We're going to try and stop young men being sent to add to the damage. We're going to try and stop the killing, because the idea that you can end war by fighting wars is a lie. You can't end killing by more mass slaughter. The path to peace is talking and staying out of other people's conflicts and keeping Britain at peace.
Thank you very much, Nick. Clive Jefferson, roving reporter for the British National Party, reporting this morning, report 3 of hopefully a continuing series of voice notes on this most extraordinary journey that I'm embarked on. I'm sitting here with our head of publicity, Charlie Wise. Charlie, where do we find ourselves this morning?
Today we find ourselves in the Lebanon, of all places, in the bustling humdrum of Beirut.
In the Lebanon, and it's it is a culture shock, isn't it? We had the soldiers checking the taxi drivers last night when we got picked up. Our escorts in, the log out with soldiers at the airport. We've had to go through checkpoints, razor wire, Kalashnikovs, and an interesting uniform the Lebanon soldiers have got. Quite trendy, really, but bit of a shock, bit of a culture shock to us British, Charlie, I would suggest. What do you think?
It is. I've never seen anything like it. So we'll see what awaits us.
Absolutely, and we've got a little bit of time now. We're here on the BNP peace mission. Out as envoys, British envoys, obviously primarily in our roles to support Nick Griffin MEP, who's big news over here even before we get to our final destination in Damascus. Is big news here in Lebanon. What I want to talk about, Charlie, is we're actually putting ourselves in the more you think about it and the closer we get to this war zone, we're putting ourselves in real, genuine danger here, aren't we? It's no small matter, this mission.
It is no small matter. It's reportedly a war zone with threats of military strikes by the British, Americans and the French.
A huge escalation on the horizon. Potential.
So it seems. I don't really know what to expect from Damascus. Nick's been there before. So as far as safety is concerned, we're pretty much putting ourselves in the hands of our hosts.
Yes.
Hopefully it will be safe enough for us to deliver accurate reports of the situation on the ground. But,
and get out again.
That's the idea.
That's the idea. That's the aim, isn't it? But it's on trips like this into the unknown, as you will. And I mean, Nick's been all over Russia. He's been all, I mean, he's an international diplomat. There's no ifs or buts about that. He's on the international stage of politics, and this is probably the most important. Will be one of the most high-profile missions that the party and Mr. Griffin, MEP Griffin, has ever been on, with huge potentials to really make a difference. And although we're concerned for our safety, and as we see evidence of more guns and razor wire and checkpoints in the middle of the roads, I'm sure our concern level will raise accordingly. But we're in this for the long haul. We're committed to this mission, as we're committed to our struggle and our position in the party as a whole. I'm going to leave it there because we're going to do a rolling sort of diary. But have you got anything?
Well,
any other comments?
I would like to add that this is a diplomatic mission, and given that Cameron regime and Obama have decided to neglect and abandon diplomatic means, we're confident that that through the political process we can avert war and a huge amount of destruction, deaths, expenditure of the British taxpayer on missiles, and and maintain relative peace
in this area. I mean, yeah, an escalation would be terrible for everybody. It wouldn't do any good. Everybody's saying that. The people in Lebanon are saying it. We've been talking to people here. We've met representatives here who've been very, very welcome. Nobody wants this, except some of the Western leaders. Warmonger, Haig and Cameron, Obama. The French are making noises, rattling sabres. Apart from, like, seriously, half a dozen of the political elite. The people over here, the people in Damascus, the people in Lebanon, the people in the airports that we talk to, nobody wants the cruise missiles to fly. It's insanity. And yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think we're very grounded in reality here. It's a risky mission, but the rewards are that Nick, with his profile and his position, can open this dialogue. And let's be under no illusions here. People will listen. This will get out to the public. The media will have no choice to cover it. We've got our own extensive media networks, and even if the media don't speak directly to us, what we're doing here today with the cameras we've got, with the voice notes, with our internet presence, social media, etc., the message will get out, and I think we can make a real difference here, Charlie.
Well, this is it. There's no other politician that would put his life on the line for such a diplomatic mission. I don't think there's any other politician that could achieve this aim. And love him or loathe him, Nick Griffin is the man who's put himself on the line for peace in this region.
Yeah, we'll leave it there, Charlie. Thanks for speaking to us, and let's just see where this week leads us, mate.
Indeed, thanks, bye.
To quote a Western film, Toto, I don't think we're in Kansas anymore. Mr. Griffin, we've got the call to prayer outside our hotel base. Yeah. We definitely aren't in Cumbria anymore, or in the Western society. It's quite quite an eerie thing, that, isn't it, to call the prayer being broadcast out over a full city.
Well, I don't know if it's that foreign. I've been to Bradford and so on, places like that. It's increasingly common in Britain. But yeah, it's a little bit unusual from the point of view of Mid-Wales, that's for sure. And large parts of England still, for that matter. Yeah, but it's their culture, they're right. And you know, here we're in Beirut at the moment. This city was torn apart by a terrible civil war. It's not that recently been rebuilt, between different Muslim factions, between Christian militias and so on. Most of it incited by and sparked by Israeli interference, wanting to take out a strong neighbour on their border, and it caused terrible trouble. They just about rebuilt it. They're stable. The two or three different main groups here have been living in peace, going about their own business and issuing their own calls to prayer at their own different times, or church bells, whatever. They got it sorted out, and now if the Assad government is destroyed by Western interference, which is the only thing which will destroy it, because they were winning the civil war, which is why I've got to get that phone.
Thanks for that. I'm going to cut this sound report off now. We've got, a continuing mission to achieve over here. Thank you. Clive Jefferson reporting again in this series of short sound files to record a journey with Nick Griffin MEP. Nick, we're literally speaking on the road to Damascus now. I've been wanting to get that one in for quite some time, but we are literally on the road to Damascus, Nick, and I've got to tell you, it's been one of the most, let's say, interesting journeys that I've been on so far. But oddly enough, now we've reached this area, I'm slightly more relaxed. But tell us your thoughts on what we hope to achieve here, Nick.
Well, just before that, just tell people a little bit about, set the scene. We're driving through a very rocky, I suppose it's a desert, but not as we think of a desert with sand and so on. It's rocks and bits of scrub, whereas in the Lebanon we were on really quite a windy, very dangerous road with huge lorries thundering towards us, and nothing between them and us. Here we've got a dual carriageway sort of motorway with a big concrete barrier all the way between us, street lights all the way down. In many places, quite large plantations of young trees put along the side of the road in reforestation projects. And above us, not a clear blue sky, it's hazy, it's hot. And as we come around this corner, if memory serves me right, you'll see Damascus in the distance. There you go, and that is one big city.
That's Damascus.
Yep, and I'll tell you what, looking at it, see a prison, there's no smoke there, there's no explosions just at the minute, but that's what Cameron, Haig, Obama, and the warmongers and the people behind the warmongers want to see, who knows, in the next few days when we're there. So our purpose is to try to stop that.
Yeah, to bring some reason to...
Yeah. You could say that's hopeless, but I don't think so, because there's so much opposition to this war. I caught a glimpse of one of the headlines just as we were waiting for one of our taxi transfers while I was looking online, that Britain's top general has said don't bomb Syria, as well as many others. So it's a tiny and out-of-touch political elite want to do this, and I really do think that if people pull together and really hammer home the message, we do not want war. Wars do not end war. We know that from past terribly bitter experience. If we hammer that message, then it's just possible that we'll end up with a lot of bluff and bluster from the so-called Western powers, and they may back off at the last minute. I fear they won't, but that's what I'm here to try to do, or you and Charlie are here to help do. And if the worst comes to the worst and they do launch the attack, then I know there's not much, in a way, consolation in being able in due course to say, I told you so, but this isn't the first and it won't be the last of such adventures, and sooner or later, when more and more of them go so horribly wrong as they do, then those of us who argue for a different path will be listened to, we will be heard, and one day justice will be done.
Yeah, I'm going to keep this brief, Nick, because as you said there, we are coming into Damascus. We've been through maybe keeping a different commentary, a non-political commentary, if you like, going. We've been through maybe 15 checkpoints, we've been waved through. The soldiers are very relaxed. As we've just been discussing, I was in, as you aware yourself, we're in Northern Ireland through the troubled times. Checkpoint Charlie, all that. The
Checkpoint Charlie was in Berlin.
Yes.
There you go. But no, I know what you mean, and I regard this still. I'm interested because...
Well, what I'm just basically saying is the troops are they're relaxed. You can't keep it, you know, it doesn't feel like there's imminent threat here, I must admit.
Well, I think you'll find that's even more so in the city. The imminent threat, I think we're going to find, I'm expecting to find people scared on the thought of death and destruction raining down from the skies, courtesy of Obama and Hagen they're ill.
Yes.
But the simple fact is that the background level of tension here should be, and I'm sure is lower, for the simple reason that the Syrian government is winning the civil war, which is what makes it so very drastically unlikely that they would have used chemical weapons, as is alleged, just a few days ago, and thereby giving the Americans, British and French, the excuse to interfere. It simply doesn't ring true. And I think, you know, what you're seeing there with relaxed soldiers, it's because they won't have been bombed, they won't have been shot at for a long time, because the civil war is being pushed further and further back.
Yeah, okay then, so as I say, we're entering the city. I'm going to sign off now, and we'll pick this up later, Nick, with the next development. Thank you.